My name is Nicola Morgan and I've written about 90 books, from Thomas the Tank Engine books to novels for teenagers like Mondays Are Red and Flesh Market, and also 2 books on the brain, Know Your Brain, and for teenagers, Blame My Brain. I do loads of school events and festival events, and it may be that you're watching this video thinking about inviting me to come and speak at your school or to any other audience. And if so, I hope you'll find this short film, interesting, and it'll give you a bit of an insight into me before you inflict me on your audience. I always write straight onto my laptop, but I get bored easily, so a circular table means I can get different views. Maybe the different coloured boots help. Well, that's my excuse. I do seriously do boots. But much as I love my study, I find that all my ideas come when I'm outside. So, when I'm stuck on a story, I go for a walk with my dog. I live in Edinburgh, and there are loads of hills and woods to walk in. Writers need more thinking time than anything. Although I don't plan my stories on paper, the planning all happens in my head. The characters even begin to talk while I'm out walking. Definitely the most difficult part of what I do is actually writing a book. All of the other things, doing the school events, doing all the promotion stuff, doing all the admin stuff, all the emails that take up so much time, they're the easy bit, and definitely it's the actual writing of the book that's the hardest thing. Cooking is another way that gives me thinking time. I even invented a recipe for my last brain book, Know Your Brain. It's called Brain Cake because it's packed with things that are supposed to be perfect for feeding your brain and keeping it alert during the day. Yes, a cake that's actually good for you. If you want the recipe, you'll find it on the Know Your Brain page of my website or in the book itself. It's incredibly easy and quick to make. And now I'm sounding too much like Delia, so let's move swiftly on. I find writing for teenagers really enjoyable. It is challenging because you know that they've got so many other things that they want to be doing, and so every sentence, every paragraph has to grab them. That's the challenging bit, but once you've got over that, once you know that in fact all you've got to do is to write a really, really fast, gripping, interesting story, a story with depth, then actually it's very easy, because that's the sort of story that I like to read anyway. Often I'm preparing for school talks or a festival or conference visit. I speak to thousands of pupils and adults every year, and every talk is a bit different, so needs different preparation. As about 50% of people would have done in those days if they had any type of operation. Hands up who has ever had stitches for any reason, either from an operation, right? Well, 50% of you. I love doing school events. I love watching the pupils' faces while I tell them the gory stories behind Flesh Market, or show them which of them have synesthesia, or when the librarian emails me afterwards to say that all the ones who don't normally like reading are now borrowing my books. And I'm very, very sorry to have taken you out of your normal school lessons for a while this afternoon. That's okay. You must be really cross with me about that. No. Has anyone missed maths or physics or anything like that? Well, that's not so good. I do a lot of school talks, and I come and I talk. Brain events are good fun too. Everyone likes to find out how their brain works and how each one works a bit differently. I suppose what I most like about doing brain events is that they are different from another sort of author event, and there's lots of interaction that goes on. There are activities that I can get them to do depending on how long I have with them, and I usually have longer than I do for a normal school event. So we can do all sorts of physical activities for them to find out how their brain works, and everybody's interested in their brain because it's what goes on in their own head. And so even though some kids might not be interested in books, they're all interested once they start to learn about the really amazing and sometimes quite weird and extraordinary things that are happening inside your brain. Sometimes there's a really special event like a launch. The Highwayman's Curse was launched in a tiny 18th century cottage, packed with 80 school kids, 5 journalists and a TV crew. This was after I'd done a huge project with a local school and given them the task of launching and promoting the book. I often work with schools on long projects. At the moment, a school is actually helping me write a novel, and they will organise the launch and everything too. Doing something like that really helps me stay in touch with what teenagers want and like in a book.
As you can see, being a writer does not mean spending all our time sitting alone at a desk and getting eye strain. Doing festivals and school events, making friends with other authors and meeting readers is a huge part of a writer's life. I love being an author, even though it's hard work, and one of the best things about it is that every day is different.
In a way, I suppose I'm really two different authors, because sometimes I'm writing or talking about my novels, and sometimes I'm writing or talking about the brain, and to be honest, I'm equally happy doing either. If you'd like to meet one of these two different authors and set up an event, then do contact my assistant through my website. But whatever you do, I hope that you'll really want to read some of my books.